I'm Matt Hayes. I haven't got much in common with Babs Kijewski really. She's German and I'm English. She's a girl, I'm a boy. She's quite young and I'm, I suppose, a bit oldish. But we both share a passion for fishing. And that's why we've decided to go on the ultimate fishing road trip together to Ontario. Well, it's the final leg of mine and Barbara's tremendous fishing journey across Ontario. And we're a little bit sad about that, but it's already got off to a flying start because just a few minutes up the road this morning, we've seen a bear. So how good is that? We're on our way now to Rice Lake. It's pretty much our ultimate destination, and it's a place that's particularly well known for its carp fishing. So with any luck, we'll go out on a high. Well, what a drive, and absolutely, yeah, really miserable weather, wasn't it, on the way over? It was pouring with rain, just horrible, but it stopped raining. The forecast for tomorrow is blue skies. So this is our apartment and it's right next to the lake. We're fishing here at Elmhirst Resort on Rice Lake, and in fact the Elmhirst family history with Rice Lake goes back a long way. It all began in the year 1818 when King George IV was so delighted with James Elmhirst's role in the Battle of Trafalgar with Napoleon that he gave him 1,000 acres of land, crown land, on Rice Lake itself. And today Rice Lake really is a beautiful resort. The Elmhirst lodges are located just a stone's throw from the water's edge, and in Rice Lake you'll find a tremendous variety of species, including of course the carp that we're fishing for. It really couldn't be more convenient after all of that wilderness fishing that we've had so far.
Oh, it's a zombie boilie. Look that.
Scary.
Yeah, it is. The fruitiest temptation since boilies began.
No, then we cannot fail. Failure is not an option.
So thank you for the lure, for the boilie. No.
Now listen, you do realise this is fishing bait, not for squirrels or chipmunks, but for fish. Okay?
And not for me.
No, not for you.
All right.
The nice thing about Rice Lake is that it's very conveniently situated if you're on a family holiday and you want some sightseeing thrown in. Toronto's quite nearby, and so too are the magnificent, world-famous Niagara Falls. Now the thing about the Niagara Falls is that they're actually split into 3 crests. The well-known American and Horseshoe crests and the lesser-known Bridal Veil. But for me, the most staggering thing about Niagara is that every second of every day, 6 million cubic feet of water flow over the edge. Well, this is Rice Lake and it's a really big sheet of water. It's got a lot of carp in it and I'm pretty optimistic that we're going to catch some fish. But these are fish that just aren't fished for ordinarily. Over here in Canada, carp are not regarded as one of the premier sport fish, so they're pretty much left to their own devices. So they're not used to artificial baits. And we've been baiting this area up now since yesterday evening with some maize, which is a bait that we know that carp will accept almost instantly. And I can see by the way the the weed is getting rooted up in front of this platform here, that there are fish feeding in the general area. But I think it's going to take some time for the fish to root up enough weed for us to be able to present the bait properly to them. Well, we've brought with us a bit of the modern gadgetry. These electronic bite alarms will bleep if a fish picks up the bait and runs away with it. They're also very useful to tell me if there are carp in the area. I'm fishing deliberately in a way that if carp begin to root up the weed in front of me, they'll probably swim through the line and they'll cause the alarm to bleep like that. If I get a take, the alarm will make an altogether different noise, a very loud single tone as the fish screams off with the rig. But it's really useful to me to be able to fish for what we call line bites, and then I'll know that there are fish feeding in the area.
Look, I have a small present for the carp. So I put my weight and my hook inside a P4A bag with a little bit corn, so I can be sure that when I cast out that everything falls to the bottom, and I have some corns on my hook bait, and everything's fine. I have no problems with the weed.
Out in front of me there's a lot of weed, and there are clear patches in among the pieces of weed which hopefully will become larger as the fish get in and root up some of the bait. They'll actually clear the weed out, but you can see the problem. This thick weed here basically disguises the bait. It just gets lost in these clumps of thick weed. So I'm looking for the sparser patches or the pieces of bottom where the fish have been in and rooted up all the weed in their attempts to get at the maize, so they can actually see my bait. That's the real object of the exercise. So by casting around with my rig, I can feel for the clear patches, and that's very important for me to find some decent clear spots to present the bait on.
This is a dog of success. One rod is already inside the water, and now the second one. So I have to feed a small area right there, and I try to put my hook bait right there. A moment, you see that? All right. Perfect. I will sit here.
Carp fishing is more often than not a waiting game, and that gives your mind time to wonder. Not always a good thing, because the longer you go without getting any action, the more the mind begins to turn. Am I in the wrong place? Are the fish here? Is my bait wrong? Is the presentation wrong, etc.? But I know that there aren't a lot of carp in front of me feeding on this baited area, because if there were, they'd be swimming through my line as they mill around tearing up the weed, and I'd be getting lots of bleeps on these bite alarms that tell me that the fish are there. So I know they're not here at the moment. I've made quite a lot of disturbance, of course, casting around trying to find the clear area, so that could push the fish out temporarily. But the biggest mind game of all is when you look at the huge lake, an expanse of water in front of us. It really is a needle in a haystack to find the carp, and that's the bit that really gets to you. Will they come?
Oh, it's a really interesting information. What I get is that a lot of people, they live directly in the near of the lake and have a dock like this. So they throw corn in the water, and then the carp come, eat the corn and the wheat, and the people can swim without wheat. They feed the carp, but they don't fish on carp. So this is really perfect for me, because I fish with corns.
that's my first take. It's on the further out rod, and already I can feel that this fish is in weed, so I've got to try and keep its head up and above this dense weed. It's coming through, but there's a lot of weed out there. Well, there's a lot of work to do yet, Babs. Fish is right in the weed. I've got to keep its head up, try and just bring it in over the top. It's out on the surface at about 30 meters out. Can you see it?
Yeah.
It's not a very nice way to play fish. It's all brute force and ignorance, but it does work. It doesn't really know what's going on yet because its eyes are covered with weed, so it's confused. That may be to our advantage.
Oh, great. Oh, I see. Oh, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful fish. Right. I got it.
Woo!
Super
First
good.
fish?
Yeah, absolute. So hold the net.
I will.
I make ready the...
It's not a huge one, but it's our
It is
first
a
Ontario carp.
Absolute.
What happens is when the fish's eyes get covered in weed, they're very disorientated, and it did me a favour. It didn't actually fight that much, so I was able to bring it in through that heavy weed. So that's a result.
Have a look at the first carp.
Yes.
Oh, it's a beauty.
It's a very nicely coloured fish.
Oh, wow.
Look at that.
Oh, wow. It looks
Almost
so
like a wild
golden.
carp. Yeah.
Oh, great.
Not very well hooked, but there it is.
Oh, wow. It's amazing.
Yeah. That's our first Ontario carp. Very different to the carp that we catch in Europe, which rely heavily on anglers' baits. They tend to be much heavier, deeper fish. This is a long, lean fighting machine. A wild fish that lives in a very sunny place, and you can tell that by the colours of the carp. It's almost pewter and mahogany. This is an interesting thing, Babs. Look at this.
It looks like
it's actually got a
herpes.
huge tumour on its lip there. It hasn't stopped it from feeding, but fish do get these, you know, in the wild. They get all kinds of scrapes and bumps, and just like humans, they get abnormalities, and this one's got that. But anyway,
it's a beauty.
well, its mother loves it. It's our first Ontario carp, and we've got to be pleased about that. Okay, let's put this fish back, Babs.
Perfect, yeah.
It's a hot day, don't want it out of the water too long. The way I'm going to do that is I'm just going to lower it down like this in the net. It's a very long, lean fish. Originally in the UK, our strain of carp were called wild carp, and they were this sort of body shape. They were common carp like this one is, fully scaled, and they were a much longer, leaner shape. Selective breeding has produced a lot of the deeper bodied carp shapes that are more familiar today, but this is a wild carp, and I'm just going to turn it round and let him swim away.
Bye bye. Perfect.
Thank you.
I'm really happy for you.
Well, I'm happy for me too.
Ah, cool, the first
I'm
carp.
happy for both of us, really, because it means that we've got some fish in front of us.
Absolute.
That's good news.
Yeah, absolute. So, and you cast in the back from the weed bed?
I cast over, just over the edge of it.
All right.
Well, I explained to you that carp fishing is all about trapping, and this is just one of the gadgets that we use back at home. The ledger weight, the hook and the bait are actually contained in this bag of maize, but the bag is made from PVA, and basically it's a substance that's used originally in surgical procedures. Liquids won't melt it, oil-based liquids won't, but water does. So what actually happens is when this hits the water, it sinks slowly, the PVA bag dissolves into nothing, and my hook bait is sitting among a nice pile of maize. And my tactic there was to cast this bag just over the edge of the weed into a clearer area, and the fish just came rooting along, saw a nice little pile of maize and hoovered up my bait. That was the winning tactic. Right, I've got the PVA bag ready to cast, and I've also got here a bucket of maize, and I figure that any fish that have been feeding in this weedy area that are located a little bit further out will now know what maize is. They'll realise it's an edible food source. So if I put one of these little piles of bait out there on its own, the chances are that a carp that's swimming around looking for a bit of food will see this and just take it. I don't need to bait heavily around this arrangement. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cast this out a little bit further, and then with the catapult I'm going to flick out some loose grains of maize and scatter them around that area so that the fish get used to browsing around and picking up odd little bits of maize.
Fish again!
I'm letting the fish fight further out in the lake this time. It's much clearer out there, so if it gets a little bit tired, then I can roll it over on the surface. As long as I keep its head up, I've got a chance of getting it in through the weed. Here it comes. Now it's moving. Now you've got to get right on top of them. Oh, it's a nice big tail on this one.
Ooh.
Look at this lad go. Keep a lot of side pressure on it, and that will keep the fish off balance so that it can't get its head down into that weed. Here she comes. It's a nice one.
Oh, it's a nice one. Perfect.
Yeah, well done, Babs.
Here we are.
Woohoo!
Oh, wow. It's a heavy one.
That's a nice one.
Matt. Wow.
Well, you know, I've caught a few carp in my time, what can I say?
But such a beautiful fish.
Yeah, that's a really perfect looking carp, actually.
Absolutely. And never hooked before.
For sure. Right, this one's probably close to about 20 pounds. It's quite a thick set, chunky fish, really wide across its back. And it's really nicely coloured. It's got those deep kind of mahogany colours, the real brassy sides, dark back, proper old warrior. Really nice carp, this one.
Okay, I don't catch a carp until yet, and I must change something. So I organized a boat and paddle out, try to find a place without weed. I set there a marker in the water and I feed a little bit directly on this place. And then I paddle back and cast directly to the marker, and then I have my hook lure on the feeding ground. So this is the place where I fish now. There's no weed inside the water. I feed a little bit, and hopefully I will get a carp now. Fish on, fish on! I got my first carp. Oh, it's so exciting. Look, I danced with the carp. All right, he's still here. So Matt, you're ready for landing my first carp?
I'm ready, I'm ready.
Oh, he's not ready. All right. It drives me crazy, look. Whoop. Yoo-hoo! Yuppie!
Well done, Babs.
I feel very, very happy. Oh, thank you.
Your boating tactic worked.
Oh, look at that. All right. It's not a big one, but it is a beauty. Look, this beautiful fish. Oh, I'm really happy now. This is my first carp here from Ontario Rice Lake.
Well, there'll be a 40-pounder out there somewhere, Babs. This isn't it, by the way. It's a nice carp, that one.
Oh, there goes bigger and bigger.
Yeah, it's a nice fish. Beautiful fish, actually.
Wow.
That's a really nice carp. Not yet, Babs. Here he comes. Well done.
Oh, wow.
That's the best of the day.
Well done.
Very nice thick fish.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Oh, this is a big one.
Well, that's a nice carp. That's over 20 pounds. 2 pieces of plastic corn. And there it is. This is a big, thick-set fish. Look at the size of its head and the width across its back. You could put a saddle on that and ride off into the lake.
Yeah, maybe.
Do you want to try?
No, not yet.
I'll take my glasses off so I can have a good look at it.
It's a massive head.
Yeah, really big head.
Wow.
Thick set fish.
Ooh.
Very nice carp. Look at that.
And I
Beautiful
put
fish.
the net away. Oh, sorry. Great.
Really nice fish. Not huge, but probably about 20 pounds, I would say.
Come on, it's huge. It's really beautiful. Look, the colour of the fin. Oh.
It's a very nice carp. Very nice condition. I think you've got to
gotta
take,
run.
Babs. You go.
So, 1 minute before Matt catch a fish, and now this is my time. Oh, it's amazing. The fish is now in the weed, and I feel, I hope it's not away. Lovely pleasure.
It's all going on.
I have a little bit to wait. Okay, try to make a little bit more pressure. Only a little bit. Not too hard. Oh, I go really crazy. All right, let's go. Ooh.
Nice fish.
Oh. Go in the net, please. Go in the net.
You've got to draw it over, Babs.
Oh.
When its head's up, just draw it backwards now.
Yeah, I can't go backwards. Because the duck is ending now. Let.
Got it.
Oh. Oh.
So glad that
Oh,
didn't come off.
my God. Oh.
Thank the Lord for that.
Oh. Wait, can you change that? Wow. Wow. Here we go. Oh.
Now that's a proper one.
Oh, that's a proper. What a fish. What a... Oh. So. Oh. What a dance with a fish. Look, this beautiful. The color are perfect. Gold and brown and oh. Yeah, thank you. Very quick. Oh, come on, my fishy. That's it. Oh. Woo. Come on, this side is the entry. No. Wait. Yes. Oh wow, it was emotional roller coaster. Up and down, up and down. Thanks, Matt. That you share this moment with me.
Well done. At last. Good end to the day. Well, I think that's a fantastic way to end our Ontario trip. It's not quite over yet. I'm planning a little muskie fishing trip this afternoon. It's probably too bright and too hot to stand any chance of success, but hey, I might as well go out doing something that I enjoy. And Babs, well, she's going to take a little trip to Niagara. She's got a little bit of carp fishing first, but then she's off to see the falls. But I think that fish was a great way to end the trip. And believe me, I've caught a lot of carp in my life, some bigger than that one, but they don't come much better than that.
Wow, now it's running really good. All the carps, all the rod makes beep, 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 beep. And look at that, beautiful. This is my personal big one. Oh, look, the golden color looks so cool. This is really beautiful.
Well, this is the adventure that I was talking about. I'm out in a secret place now. My love affair with muskies in Ontario continues, and I've gone all the way through this road trip without having managed to catch one. I've kind of resigned myself to it, but then along comes the youngest fishing guide I've ever been out fishing with. His name's Liam, and he tells me he knows some secret muskie spots, and he's prepared to take me to them, which is exactly what he's done. And I am now going to try and catch a muskie on a fly. If I do it, he's the hero of the whole road trip, as far as I'm concerned. Let's give it a go. So what other species are in here, Liam? Are there pike in here as well? Or?
No, pike generally are in the deeper lakes, mainly deep rocky lakes. And the two species don't actually coincide except for in the main Great Lakes, such as Lake Ontario or Lake Erie. But the two main species in here would probably be muskie and bass, but there are other many bait fish like perch or minnows, such as chub minnows. One just came out of the water over there. Said just came out of the water after going after bait.
Out there?
Yep.
Well, despite mine and Liam's best efforts, the elusive muskie remains elusive. But it's a very pleasant couple of hours, great way to spend an evening and a lovely place. And one thing's for sure, I'll be back to Ontario and I will get that muskie one day. So now you're back from Niagara. Was it great?
Oh, it was amazing. The waterfalls was so powerful. It's a great moment.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, our adventure is almost at an end. And I don't know. It's great to be going home, but I'm really sad. We've had a great time, and of course it all started back at the legendary Lake of the Woods.
Oh yeah, I remember the Lake of the Woods.
Huge lake.
Absolute.
And it was a place that actually I've been really obsessed with since I was a kid. So it was great to go there. But you caught a nice pike. I caught a nice pike. I think it came off by the side of the boat before we could take it out. But then there was a moment of madness, really. We'd had several near misses with muskies up to that point. We'd had fish follow in.
Absolute.
I had one smash a bait on a figure of 8 and it didn't hook up. We had that one that followed about 6 times. Do you remember it?
Yeah,
Place?
directly in front of the boat. You can't see when they comes, and it was amazing.
Yeah, and then finally, I think it's here. Is that it? There.
This is the lure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I fished this lure. In the first moment, I hit a rock, and then my rock came alive. Then I have a big fight. I never saw such an action of my rod like this in this moment, and it was amazing. And then I saw the fish, you know, the big one, and I know this is the fish of my life.
Yeah, it certainly was. And I'm so jealous that you caught a muskie, because I still haven't caught one. I've been in Ontario for all this time. But it is the fish of 10,000 casts. It was a magic moment, and your reaction actually was priceless.
Yeah, I cried a little bit because of the fish, but yeah, it was a great moment.
It was. But then do you remember you were crying at the muskie, but you were also pretty much crying when we went on that float plane.
Yeah, the first float plane trip. Oh yeah. To Sasaganiga, to the Lake Sasaganiga, right?
That's right. You were so nervous.
Oh yeah, I was really nervous because, you know, I don't like flying so much. I know when I fly, I come to the wonderful place and can fish there, but flying and then with the float plane, and yeah, I was really nervous in the first moment, and then I saw all the trees and the landscape under us, and this was so great.
Yeah, it was a good flight actually. We flew about 80 miles northeast, I think, right out into the middle of nowhere. And it really was true wilderness, wasn't it? There was an outside toilet.
Absolutely, yeah.
With some compost. We were foraging. We made some blueberry pancakes.
I remember my first one was completely black.
Yeah, took you about 6 hours to get enough blueberries as well. But anyway, the fishing was great, wasn't it? They weren't big fish there. We caught quite a lot of pike, trolling, casting. The walleyes were pretty easy to catch actually. Absolutely. When we were jig fishing, but couldn't get one on the fly.
And remember, yeah, all the pikes with your fly rod.
Yeah.
And with the surface lures, you remember with the frog?
Yeah, I mean that was great. I had this moment of inspiration that I should put a frog fly on the surface. And they just loved it. They were only small pike, but they were so much fun. They were jumping over it and smashing
they attacked second times. When they missed the lure, they tried again. It was amazing.
Yeah, they came back several times. Yeah, it was a fantastic experience. But I think that week passed very, very quickly. I can remember that ice house and finding this place where in the middle of the hottest period of the year, or at the end of the hottest period actually, all these huge blocks of ice that they'd stored from the spring were still frozen. That was incredible. But that passed pretty quickly, and then it was time to go back. Brad flew us back out again. We landed on the mainland at Ignace, and then we moved on, and our next destination was Thunder Bay, I think.
Thunder Bay, yeah, the city. I was fishing, trolling on walleye, but I remember my first fish was a salmon. I was really surprised about that, because I went to catch a walleye and the lovely salmon comes up.
Yeah, that was quite an unusual capture, wasn't it, to catch one in the lake? Especially just trolling in the middle of nowhere, really.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think at the time I was looking at trains.
Oh, yeah.
There was this train that went past and it was absolutely enormous. It was like, you know, the trains are just phenomenal. Some of them are several kilometres long, and they're really, really noisy. But I was quite interested in the history of Thunder Bay. I actually went back on a trip to look at the history of it and buy some fly tying stuff. But from there, we went across to fish on that wonderful river, the Nipigon. Now, I know for you, the muskie was the kind of iconic fish of the trip. But for me, because I love char so much, I was just obsessed about catching a brook trout on the fly.
Yeah, yeah.
And it couldn't have gone any better, really.
Absolutely.
Fishing with Gord Ellis.
Oh yeah, it was lots of fun. Yeah, Gord Ellis is a nice guy.
Yeah, and a great fishing guide. And he put me on the fish from the word go, really. I had so many chances. The problem was that when you got any slack line on the fly, the fish would come off. So you had to keep the line really tight. But I hooked a lot of fish both times I went out with him. The first day I caught 2 beautiful brook trout.
All right.
I think I hooked 4 that day. And then the second time I went out with you, and do you remember you got line knots and all kinds of stuff going on.
This was my day. This was not really my day. So I have I don't know, maybe I have not a good night, or I remember what's happened. In the night I have not so much sleep because we saw the northern lights.
That's right, yeah, we did, yeah.
Oh, this was amazing moment. You see the lights danced all about us, and
I really enjoyed that place, and I'd love to go back actually to Nipigon and fish there again. And then we went to another outpost lake. We went to Asnagi Lake and Lodge 88.
To Susan, Lodge 88, right. Oh, but this fly was horrible. There was really dumpy, and I was really,
Yeah, it was a very bumpy float plane ride. I remember that. You were really, really nervous. But then when we got to the other end at Lodge 88, we actually discovered some really good fishing. And do you remember the bionic bog brush?
No, it's little bit. Yeah.
But it worked.
It worked. On the third cast, I caught a pike on it.
You did? Yeah, it was great.
On little met.
And then I used, I'd made 2 flies. I made one called Lodge 88 and one I called Ninja Turtle. And I caught a fish on Ninja Turtle almost immediately, a small pike. But then the fish I got on the Lodge 88 fly was a really nice pike, and it took the fly near the surface and absolutely hammered it. And it was a really nice, good double figure pike, a nice solid fish.
I remember.
So our homemade creations worked. But you know, the best thing about that place for me was going out one evening with a frog popper on the fly rod. And we managed to capture just this wonderful moment of a pike taking the popper on a slow motion camera, and that is just an incredible shot. You see the pike bow wave in from the side, open its jaws and just eat the popper, and we spent quite a long time trying to get that moment on film. And when it finally came off, well, it was as if we'd caught a 40-pounder. We were so, you know, happy about it.
Crazy.
So really happy memories about Lodge 88 too. So next up was Sault Ste. Marie.
Sault Ste. Marie, completely different because we wasn't really in the wilderness. This was a city. This was urban fishing. Yeah. But the conditions was really bad for the salmon fishing. I remember.
Yeah, we were unlucky there. I mean, the first, we went to the Agua River first. That was absolutely bone low. Hadn't got enough water. Beautiful river.
Absolute, yeah.
But absolutely pointless fishing it. Then we went into the city and we were fishing on the rapids. Now, ordinarily, I've seen pictures of those rapids when they're at the normal height. And it's a wonderful place to catch salmon. You catch lots of salmon, lots of steelhead. It's a great place to fish. But unfortunately, some kind person at the hydroelectric plant had decided to open all of the gates from the dams and raise the water level by several feet. So in fact what we were faced with was a massive, raging, rapid, boulder-strewn whitewater run. And so we were forced to make the best of a bad job with the worst possible salmon fishing weather too, really hot weather. So to break the monotony, I don't know whether you remember those pictographs. Machu Picchu and the wonderful shoreline at Lake Superior where there were all these Aboriginal paintings. So that was a fantastic scene, I thought.
Absolute, and the clear water in front of that painting was amazing. Yeah.
But then we had to fish. I say had to fish because we wanted to catch fish, but the conditions were just so difficult. And I had an opportunity to go out in the boat with Brad. And I thought about that, but it doesn't sit that well with me. I don't like trolling. I like to cast from the shore, you know. That's just me. And I thought, no, I'm going to do it from the shore. I'd probably go for the pink salmon, but I knew it required total concentration to get them on a fly. It was boiling hot. I was just drinking water and water and focusing. The fly fishing was really short range, but actually it was very technical and quite difficult because you're using weighted flies and literally trying to put the fly into the fish's mouth and then spot the bite. So it was some of the most difficult fishing I've done, not the nicest, but some of the most difficult. And I actually caught a couple of pink salmon, which was good going.
Absolutely, yeah. And it was lots of fun to catch them.
It was a lot of fun, and I've got to say that, you know, we were helped a lot by Lindsay out there, and she was fantastic.
Absolutely,
the lady from
a lovely girl,
yeah. And then we went to the powwow.
Yeah, at first this was an amazing moment. It was very interesting. I never saw an event like that. It was interesting.
Yeah, I ended up dancing. I always do. I said, I'm not going to dance. I'll make sure they don't pick on me. But I was like the donkey in Shrek, pick me, pick me. And they did.
And I remember how you danced like a robot.
Thank you. Yes, we'll skate over that.
This amused me a lot.
Yes, I know.
Thank you.
I always end up doing it, but what a great event. I found it very kind of spiritual, actually.
Yeah.
I really liked the philosophy of the First Nation people. We met with Dean Sayers first, the chief. I really enjoyed the whole event, going into the teepee and getting smudged, which is where, you know, you kind of look into the fire and you make a wish and then you get smudged, which is, you know, a cleansing process.
Yeah.
I thought it was absolutely great, really boiling hot. Anyway, where did we go after Sault Ste. Marie? It's not long ago, come on,
Yeah,
Babs?
we was on the French River.
Correct.
Yeah, right. The French River runs to the
Lake Nipissing?
Yeah, right. I remember.
Yeah. Great place, actually.
Yeah.
Really beautiful, well-run lodge.
And this was my part. I love bass fishing, and there are a lot of bass.
We did.
And a lot of fun.
Yeah, we did.
This was
We caught them on all sorts of methods. We caught them on the kind of traditional plastic worm.
Yeah. And crankbaits and soft baits, and did you hook something on the fly? Oh yeah.
I caught a lot of bass on
Oh
fly.
yeah, I remember. Oh, this was...
I didn't get any smallmouth. I caught a smallmouth back on Lake of the Woods on fly, but I caught quite a few largemouth. And the nice thing was when we used those frog poppers. So I used a frog popper fly, and you used a frog popper on the spinning rod, and they attacked both with complete abandon. They absolutely hammered them.
Yeah.
I mean, it was the best method.
Yeah, absolutely. And I caught a big pike on it.
Yeah.
This was great.
Yeah, I caught some pike on them too. And in the end, they ate both of my flies.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the pike. But anyway, so I haven't got them anymore. They're gone. But that was really great sport, and I enjoyed very much that place. I did actually have a muskie day there, but you know the result of that.
I'm so sorry.
Me and muskies just, you know, don't go together. But anyway, so after that, we came here, and I mean, let's be honest, you know, it's been the most convenient fishing here at Rice Lake. We've been at the Elmhirst Resort, right next to the water.
Absolutely.
Couldn't be more convenient. So we've been taking it pretty easy. But the fishing's been good.
Absolutely.
Some really nice carp, capped off by an absolute whacker, and doesn't get any better. But now, it's time to go.
No,
Yeah,
it's time to go.
I'm afraid it's time to go.
Crazy.
I've really enjoyed it.
Absolutely.
It's been great.
Yeah.
Enjoyed your company.
Oh,
And
thank you so much.
well done on all your achievements.
It was a honor to work with you, to fish with you.
A honour or a honor?
A honor. A honor.
An honour. It's an honour.
You are a really good fisherman. I'm really sad that you don't caught a muskie, but now you have a reason to come back.
I do. I do. And I will.
Remember what I said. Sometimes you are the duck, and sometimes you are the tree.
Sometimes you're the duck.
Dog.
Sometimes. You mean the dog?
Dog.
Oh, I see. Sometimes you're the dog and sometimes you're the tree. Well, actually, you can't end on a better saying than that, can you? Makes total sense to me. Good night.